Vanderbilt's physicality on Saturday night put the entire SEC on notice.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. Shout out to the everydayers. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Now, this past game was a lot of fun. The reaction show was great. We got good participation. The game, we learned a lot about this team from this game, the ebbs and flows of this game, the type of game that it was. We're going to break all of that down. And this, like I said, this team is different. And I had some time to sleep on it, I had some time to think about it, I had some time to analyze what I saw on Saturday night. And I came up with a few things that we learned about this team and that I think is going to help them moving forward, and things that I like moving forward in the immediate future with South Carolina and then on down the road. So, like I said, we're going to get into that. Vanderbilt opens up a 6.5-point underdogs at South Carolina, which is fair as an opening line. I think Williams-Brice Stadium in some instances can be worth a touchdown. Trey Richardson breaks out. We're going to talk about that and what that means. DIEGO Pavia comes through in the clutch again. We're going to talk about that. But honestly, the biggest thing we learned about this team, and the biggest thing that I saw that I loved about this team, is the physicality, the grit, the resilience. It put the entire conference on notice. I guarantee you, all the other 15 teams in this league have perked up a little bit, and they're also looking at Mississippi State similarly. But this team, the physicality this team had in this game, especially the second half, was ridiculous, right? And it got to the point where they made Virginia Tech quit. And that's the type of team that you want. Like, that's the type of team that you're going to win more games than you should if you can be physical enough to rip the will right out of the other team, make them quit, make them not want to play anymore. And I guarantee you Virginia Tech walked off that field going, no moss, right? You know, the famous Sugar Ray Leonard, no moss. No, that was Roberto Duran, no moss, right? When he was fighting Sugar Ray Leonard, and that, that type of thing. And this team, like I said, this is the first time I've seen a Vanderbilt team outslug somebody like that. Even in the Alabama game a year ago, they had to have a few tricks up their sleeves. They had to have a few breaks go their way. And they still punched above their weight, but like, they had to have some things help them along the way to beat Alabama, which I'm not taking anything away from that victory. That was as impressive a victory as it gets, because that Alabama team was, they were still flying high coming off that Georgia game. And this win was different, because this win, they came out and they struggled. They struggled in the first half. Like, they struggled with execution. They struggled with penalties. They turned the ball over a couple of times. But they were still physical. Like, they were still moving the ball. They were still moving the guys at the line of scrimmage. They were still hitting Virginia Tech in the mouth. And as Clark Lee described it in the postgame, body blows. They were giving them body shots, body punches, right? The entire first half. And Virginia Tech wore down on that. And they still were able to do some things. They were still able to score 10 points at the half. They were still able to do a few things on defense, although they just couldn't. There were some execution things that they just couldn't quite figure out. But it was never a physicality thing. That's not the reason they got down 10 points. The reason they got down 10 points is because they gave Virginia Tech a short field twice. And, they helped them out, and you can't do that. So the physicality was there, and it ripped the will. And that's the mark. That's one of the things, like, when you really dive down and say, okay, how does a team all of a sudden physical? How does a team all of a sudden play like that, where no matter what, they're just going to outslug you? No matter the adversity, they're going to outslug you. That doesn't happen on Saturday. That happens August 1st. That happens in the spring. Like, that mentality is not an overnight mentality. That's not we're going to go into halftime, Coach Lee's going to yell at us, we're going to eat our orange slices and drink our protein shakes drink our hydration gel and Clark Lee's going to scream at us for 3 minutes and we're going to go out there and all of a sudden we're going to be a physical team and different, all that stuff. No, dude, that mentality starts in August. The grit, the resilience starts in August. And to me, it means this. It means that their practices, they were put in these adverse situations. The offense was put in adverse situations. The defense was put in situations that they were basically one arm tied behind their back. And they said, okay, let's go. And they made them struggle. They made them suffer. They made them fight their way out of all of that. And they had those scrimmages with the backups getting a lot of reps. They had situations to where the cards were stacked against them, and they had to fight their way out of it. The competition, the competitive spirit, the physicality, the hitting, that's why they would take some longer breaks in between, like on the week, in between whatever Wednesday practice and the scrimmage, they'd have like basically a run through. But it's just the way they prepare. And as a coach, like, when you talent wise, most of the teams in your league are better than you. Like, if you just compare roster wise, right, top to bottom. I mean, it is what it is. They're higher ranked guys. They're, talent wise, you're probably still, although I love the talent that we have. I'm not saying that, but like, if you compare it to a Georgia, if you compare it to Tennessee, if you compare it to even Alabama talent wise, you compare it talent wise to Florida, to Texas A&M, to Texas, like you're going to fall short. But where this team makes up for it is the grit, is the resilience, is the tough physical mentality. We're going to beat you up. We're going to put you in a phone booth. We're going to pummel you. And we're going to show you that, hey, we belong. And it's that chip on the shoulder. It's that grit. It's that, it's all of that mentality that's been built. It's all that stuff Diego's been saying. They're backing it up. It's all the stuff that Clark Lee's been saying about, I'm tired of it being stupid old Vanderbilt. Just shut up and sit in your corner. Like, all of that came out in the second half. Actually, mostly came out most of the game, but they started executing in the second half. It came out like a freaking tidal wave in the second half. All of that attitude came roaring out. And my God, this team looked amazing. They were hitting on all cylinders. They were bulldozing people. They made Virginia Tech quit. And that's what we learned about them. They have the grit. They have the physicality. They have the resilience. And now they have the talent to back it up. They have the talent to, if they play that way, they can win. And they can win a lot. And that's the biggest thing we learned. The biggest thing we learned is that the resilience of not rolling over when you're down 10 at halftime, when it seems, as Coach Lee said, when it seems elusive, they couldn't grasp any control of the game in the first half. They were chasing it. They could, like, as hard as they played, as much as they tried, it just was elusive because the execution, the penalties, and the turnovers made it that way. But what they did is say, hey, we're going to take this thing one play at a time. They come out of halftime. They grind it right down the field on Virginia Tech. And at that point, Virginia Tech knew we're losing control of this game. And they started to quit after that drive. They weren't even behind, but they knew. They were done. They were cooked. And it was, it is how you draw it up. The crowd was still in a frenzy. Take the crowd out. That long drive just silenced the crowd. Even when they piped up a couple of times, it didn't have the same effect. They figured out how to take the crowd out of a game. They figured out how to keep the foot on the gas pedal. And Clark Lee really figured that out and radiated it through his team, right? And So once they figure out how to clean up the penalties a little bit, it seems going to be dangerous. They're going to clean up the penalties. That's fixable. The penalties they were getting were fixable. Some of them are stupid, but they're fixable. They're going to find a way to do that. But they have the most important qualities that you need in a team that's surging upward. Physicality. We're going to fight you. Grit, meaning there is no adversity too great for us. We're going to fight our way through it, and we're going to back it up. And resilience. You can't knock us down. You can't knock us out. We're going to get back up, and we're going to keep fighting. All of those three things together is Vanderbilt football in a nutshell. And execution comes right along with that. If you play with resilience, you don't panic. You have the grit enough to say, okay, listen, hey, we got knocked down. That's okay. We're going to come right back at you. And the physicality, that's an attitude. That's we're just gonna pummel you. Like, okay, you want to hit us? Okay, that's fine. You can knock us down, but you're not going to knock us down for long. We're going to keep coming after you, and you're going to have to, So that's the core fundamental values. That's part of it. That's one of the big pillars that you need on the field. Once the ball kicks off, these are the important core values: grit, resilience, physicality. You kind of all lump that into one. It's all really kind of one thing, right? So that's what they showed, and that's what we learned. That they just believe, man, and it's that goes a long way. It really does. Also, it helps when you have DIEGO PAVIA. He came through so clutch. Even after the interception, he didn't panic either. He just kept doing his thing, kept chewing up yards on the ground, kept delivering shots. I love that they were more vertical. We're going to talk more about that next. Hey, when the opening whistle blows on the new repair, you get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. You need parts fast for a project? Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. The Part Finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Their Trademaster perks like priority shipping, dedicated support, make the whole process smoother. This is everything you need about Supply House. These things are amazing. So join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Also, college football, man, it's week 2. Man, it is so back, man. There are so many good games in a week where I didn't think there was going to be that many good games. And I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it, man. SEC football especially. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself, man. You have endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout, all of that stuff that you experience with the other people. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives you the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. Man, listen, I pulled up Game Time in just a few taps. I saw amazing deals, man. I'm talking about your favorite college football games as low as $25, man. And here's the kicker. The app made it super simple. I could see the exact view before buying. And zone deals, man, you can't beat that, man, because you just say, hey, I want this section. And Game Time's like, okay, these seats are right for you. And you save big, and they're gonna give you the best deal, of course, right? And it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've bought tickets. So, man, take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All righty. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We appreciate you everydayers. We appreciate you guys sticking around. We appreciate all 800 or so subscribers. Let's keep that number going north. Everyone that participated last week, I really appreciate you. Everybody in the comments makes it fun, man. It really does. Even the trash talk, I love it as long as it doesn't get personal. Keep it coming. We got South Carolina this week, man. They've been trash talking me a little bit. It's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun. I hope South Carolina. I hope you guys are ready, right? I hope you guys are ready. So, I want to talk about DIEGO Pavia, man, because look, in this game, the offense flexes its run game muscles, man. 490 yards in total offense. 490 yards in total offense. That is outstanding. And when you look at some of the individual numbers, like DIEGO Pavia, you have 228 yards through the air. Some of that with Blaze Berlowitz. 262 yards on the ground. The rushing game scoring 3 touchdowns. McKylan Young was the rushing leader with 95 yards, and he had a touchdown. And said he had 74 yards, and he had a pair of touchdowns. And it's just everybody was making clutch plays all over the place on this offense, right? So I say DIEGO Pavia comes through in the clutch. He's the quarterback. Of course, he's going to get the brunt of the credit, and he's going to also, in some scenarios, get the brunt of the blame, right? Because he essentially put us in that situation. He threw an early pick. They went down and scored and got a touchdown off of that. And Seti fumbled one. They got points off of that as well. So the offense gets its share of the blame. Okay, I'm not saying they're free of the blame, but they when you make mistakes and when you do that, you have to atone for it, and they did in a huge way. Pavia had 61 yards on 11 carries on the ground. Cedric Alexander 73 yards on 10 carries, and McKylan Young 8 carries for 95 and a tud. Then you had Trey Richardson with a couple of carries. He had 30 yards rushing as well. So it's, the rushing attack is very, very balanced. That's one thing that jumped out to me on this. And the run lanes by the offensive line, they were just bulldozing. There was holes opening up everywhere, man. Every time, like Seti had a long run, McKylan Young had a long run, where the offensive line, it just seemed like they just put those guys on skates and they just moved them out of the way. It was like they had at a concert when the band's coming through and the ushers, the security guys, they had that rope and they just walk at you and the crowd just kind of parts. That's what it looked like, right? That's what it looked like. And the run lanes were freaking there. And the credit goes to the offensive line on the run game, man. The offensive line wears that crown on the 262 yards rushing as a team, because, oh my God, they were. I've been saying they're built for the run, and they're going to be nasty in the run game. They were. They were nasty in the run game. I wish Isaiah Glass wouldn't hold so much, but he might have to play. We might have to put him in boxing gloves for the rest of the season so he doesn't hold. But this was impressive, and it just seemed like when the chips were stacked, as our backs became firmly planted against the wall at halftime, looks like DIEGO made clutch plays even after his interception. Like there was big third downs where he would convert, he would throw it to Martell, or he'd throw it to Junior Sherrill or Trey Richardson or Eli Stowers they would need 7 and he would get 8, right? Or there'd be like a jet sweep quarterback, it was a jet read play where he would pull the ball, and the offensive line did a great job of just mauling them out of the way, and he'd go pick up first down. Like it was just if they needed 12 yards, he'd get 13. If they needed 6, he would get 7. If they needed 2, he'd get 4. He was always moving the chains. He was always making that play, that extra yard. The play where he ran the option. Virginia Tech played it beautifully. And it was a play where he pitched it to Caleb Barnett, and it was like third and medium, probably 3rd and 5 or 6 or so. They run an option. Virginia Tech has it stuffed in the backfield, and I think they had just gone ahead, so the game was still a 3-point game. So like they get that stop, and I don't know if that changes things, but they had it played perfectly. They had a guy for the pitch, a guy for the quarterback, and it was, I mean, they were right there too. Like he couldn't get the edge. He couldn't really do anything. They had him dead to rights. And they hit him. Like they were tackling him, and as he was trying to elude, he bought himself enough space. The guy came off of the pitch guy to come support because he thought he was going to get out of it and he was going to be right there to tag him. Well, instead, he sees the one guy come off of Barnett. He flips it past him, and Barnett gets a first down. They had him stop for a 3-yard loss. He pitches it between the two dudes. He takes a hit. And Barnett gets the first down. Like, those are the type of plays he makes. Like, the awareness of what he needs to do in a particular play is unbelievable. The throw he made, the couple of throws he made to Trey Richardson, wow. Just wow. He threw freaking dimes to him. Talk about a breakout, though. Trey Richardson, 3 catches, 45 yards, and a touchdown. And it's not necessarily about the stats here with Trey Richardson, because if you look at the stats, like breakout, like he breakout. Like, what are we doing here? It was the moments in which it was the catches he made. It was the situations he made the catches in. Like, it seemed like the more dire it got, the more you needed it. I guess the more clutch the situation, the more he delivered. That one play where he got interfered with, didn't get called. And it was a big 3rd down and he needed to catch it. He was there. He caught it. Right. I mean, you could have had the excuse of, he got interfered with and he could have dropped it, and that would have been it. You would have understood. He makes the play. He just makes the play. He breaks out. I'm going to do more on Trey Richardson later on this week because I want to talk about the defense a little bit. But my God, dude, that dude is outstanding. So I want to talk about the defense, though. We'll do that when we come back. Hey, quick question. All you college football fans out there, if you could go back in time, sit front row at your school's biggest rivalry game, what hat would you be wearing? Yeah, I said hat. For me, it would be the game. And it's these hats right here. Those are awesome, man. Those hats are outstanding, man. Those are my favorite hats. For me, it would be the game. Like I said, these aren't just hats. These are the same vintage styles fans wore back in the 80s and 90s. And guess what? They still go for the same prices they did back then. When you use code Locked On, you'll get your vintage hat for $16.99. So head to thegamecaps.com, which is right here below. Grab your team's classic bar or retro circle design and use code Locked On for an exclusive discount. You know why? Because legends wear the game. Like I said, these hats are outstanding. All righty, we are wrapping up the show here. Locked On Vandy, thanks for making us your first listen. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Tell a friend, all that good stuff at Locked On Vandy and all social media platforms. Let's get into it. Let's ramp this thing up. Let's ramp the season up here, man. It's going to be a fun ride, man. And like I said, we open up as 6.5-point underdogs at South Carolina. That's going to be a lot of fun. Like that team, that's going to be an interesting game because 16-game losing streak. It looked a little shaky, and I get it. There was a weather delay, and the opponent was probably not the greatest opponent for them, but they looked a little shaky against Virginia Tech too. So that game's going to be fun to break down. I'm going to get together with Chris Marler again. We're going to do another crossover and see kind of how things have changed since the last time we did a crossover earlier in the summer. So this is going to be a lot of fun. However, I want to talk about this defense real quick, man. Look, defense, they took a half to get adjusted. But my God, once they did, they harassed Jones, they shut down the run game, and they just physically bullied the Hokies, made them quit. And by the way, that picture is Bryson Coleman. He scored his first touchdown. I think it was his first official catch, too, for 54 yards. It was a beautiful, beautiful design play. Go watch the highlights. Tim Beck had an amazing night, right? And that goes out. So Tim Beck called a phenomenal game, and I thought Steve Gregory called a great game as well. So, but the physicality, this is where it goes back full circle, back to segment one. Physicality is the core of this defense. Aggressiveness is the core of this defense. And once they kind of figured some things out, because I think Virginia Tech, obviously with the atmosphere, you knew they were going to take that first drive and they were going to drive the ball down the field. Like you knew that was going to happen. It always does. The home team always does that because they're juiced up. The crowd's into it. It's in a frenzy. Enter Sandman, one of those famous college football entrances ever. And, all of those factors, you knew they were going to take it down for a series, right? It's a foregone conclusion. We knew that. We knew it was either going to be 6 or 3 or 7 or 3, right? We knew it was going to be one of those two numbers, but there was going to be a number there. And so once this defense figured things out, once they got an idea, Virginia Tech didn't really change all that much. And their offensive line broke down. And I know they had 3 starters out. Doesn't matter. Like, it's Vanderbilt. That's supposed to be the excuse, right? Oh, it doesn't matter. It's Vanderbilt. Yeah, no, that didn't work this time, right? And, I know people are like, well, they had 3 starters out. Of course you look good. Well, those same 3 replacements were doing extremely well in the first half. They played well in the first half. Where did that go? This defense, again, body punches, body shots, body blows, whatever you want to call it, right? They can only take so many shots to the ribs, to the gut, to the sides, to the liver. They can only take so many shots to the body before they wilted away and then allowed you to knock them out. There's only so many of those you could take. Vanderbilt did a masterful job of jab, 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 jab. I mean, they just set them up. Jab, 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 jab. I love this boxing analogy, by the way. Just jabbing. Jab. And then all of a sudden, boom, haymaker. Made them quit. They hit the canvas as TKO. Wasn't even a KO. It was a TKO because they threw in the towel, right? Apollo, throw in the towel. Yeah, I mean, this defense is they started locking down. They started getting in Drone's face. They started hitting him. I said in my pregame, in my keys, look, defensively, make Kyron Drones throw from a muddy pocket, hit him repeatedly, dominate versus the run. Did they do that? Yes. Offense needs to control the line of scrimmage, protect Pavia, hit some explosive plays. Did they do that? Absolutely. They didn't start fast, but they did eventually take the crowd out of it. Guys, it works. Like, he has happy feet. He doesn't like getting hit. He's a rhythm guy. You get him out of rhythm, you hit him a few times, he starts feeling the pressure. It happened. It absolutely happened that way. Because he started looking down, and that one series where they were like, they thought they were going to do something, and all of a sudden CJ Hurd comes flying off the edge and just hit him. Just hit Drones. I mean, just took him, just decleated him. I was like, oh, God. Virginia Tech's in trouble. This is ball game, dude. Because they quit. I think they quit in that moment. Because the offensive line they were just like, whoa, whoa. They quit in that moment. And I never really paid attention to Vanderbilt before I moved up here to Nashville, I'll be honest. When I moved up to Nashville, I started watching Vanderbilt more because, they're the local team and I wanted to support. And so I started watching them, and I was kind of I started to become kind of a fan because they're Nashville. Is what's good for Nashville is good for me. Like, I want a vibrant, good city with good things happening. Vanderbilt being good was huge. The Tennessee Titans being good was huge. The Predators going on their Stanley Cup Finals run where they finished runner-up that year, that was a lot of fun. Like, all of that. Nashville SC being good, that's a lot of fun. Like, all of that is good. If it's good for Nashville, it's good for me because I'm a Nashvilleian now. I've been here for 17, 18 years now. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun watching them. And since since I started with this Locked On Vandy podcast, I started really getting more invested in the team. And I started becoming, I started noticing things with Clark Lee. Like in his first year, I noticed that he was very reserved. He wasn't sure how to act on the sidelines. He wasn't sure how to behave. He didn't really have the team. He just felt like he couldn't do much. And he probably couldn't. He was probably just going to have to take the wins as they came, just take his lumps and just kind of learn, right? And eventually he gets to this point where now we walk into the South Carolina game and we're like, are we sure 6.5 is the right spread? Like that's kind of where we're at. Like Vanderbilt's a physically imposing team. Like they're going to come in and they're going to beat you up. Like that's unnerving a little bit. So, and offensively they have the mentality. They road grade you. Defensively, they have that mentality. They just swarm you and avalanche you and make you think about whether or not you want to take the field again. And Virginia Tech, they put Virginia Tech in a business decision, and Virginia Tech said, no mas. You could tell by the way they played. They quit. Their will was gone. They threw in the towel. You could tell. So on this next episode, we're gonna take a peek at South Carolina. We're gonna see if what Vanderbilt can do to make victory at Williams-Brice and snapping a 16-game losing streak possible. It's going to be a tough one, not going to lie. But it is possible. There is a way. We're going to take an early look and seeing what that way is, and then we're going to continue to break them down all week. All right. But this is Locked On Vandy. Thanks for listening. The Amazon Fire TV, Locked On, the Fire TV pregame show. It's amazing. You should check it out. Fire TV College Football Kickoff is actually what it's called. And Drake Toll, Locked On Big 12, leads the conversation. He has two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview as only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. And with that, I'm out. Peace. Anchor down.